A brief history of Vancouver. Prior to the arrival of Europeans in early 1860s, the area known today as Vancouver was inhabited by several scattered villages of the First Nations indigenous people, the Coast Salish. The land was forested by some of the world's tallest old-growth evergreen trees. As Europeans settled, they began cutting down those enormous trees to clear the way for habitation. Forestry became the first, most significant industry along the shore of Burrard Inlet, which is now Vancouver's busy seaport. In 1865, the first sawmill, Stamps Mill, began producing lumber at the top of Dunleavy Avenue. In 1867, Jack Dayton arrived in a dugout canoe with his First Nations wife, a yellow dog, and a barrel of whiskey. The next day, he enlisted mill workers to build a board and batten shack for him on the waterfront, about 150 meters west of the mill, in return for as much as whiskey as they could drink. He set up bar in the shack that he called the Globe Saloon. Being the first drinking establishment made it extremely popular, especially with sailors and mill workers. Regulars gave him the nickname Gassy Jack. In those days, the term gassy was a way to describe someone who talked a lot and told stories. I'm gassy. Several mill workers began living near Dayton's saloon, and a small settlement became known as Gassy's Town. This was later shortened to Gastown. By 1870, the colonial government of British Columbia recognized that a town had taken shape. They sent a surveyor to lay out an official town site, which was named Granville. This was in honor of Lord Granville, the British colonial secretary at the time. This posh name didn't sit well with the early inhabitants. However, as their home was rough and tough lumber town, brawls, robberies, stabbings were commonplace. So they continued to refer to home as Gastown. Today, the name applies to the oldest and most haunted part of Vancouver. As Granville had a natural harbor, it was chosen by the Canadian Pacific Railway, the CPR, in 1871 to be the western terminus. But CPR President William Van Horn was not happy with the name Granville. This was because of the town's unsavory reputation for hard living. Granville? Unsavory reputation, hard living. Okay. This was because of the town's unsavory reputation for hard living, including drinking and prostitution. He suggested that Vancouver would be a better name, taken from the British naval captain who chartered in 1792. Well, there you have it. Vancouver was originally called Granville, but they didn't like the name, so they suggested Vancouver would be better. Here we are at the conclusion, page 3. The city was incorporated under this new name in April 1886. 2 months later, a fire destroyed most of Vancouver's wood-framed buildings in less than a half an hour. The city was swiftly rebuilt, with many buildings built with fire-resistant brick shipped over from England. Modern water, electricity, sewer, streetcar systems were soon installed. CPR service to Vancouver began in 1887. By that year, population was 5,000. In 1900, it was 100,000. Today, the population is over 650,000, not including its suburbs or ghostly inhabitants. Welcome to a reading with Lushes Jones.